What the hell is up, everybody? Louis back here again, finally for an awesome fight night. Peter No Mercy Jan taking on Merab, the Machine DVALISHVILI at bantamweight for pivotal contender spot. We'll see if Merab fights Aljo or what have you, but it should be a fun fight. You got two tanks going at it. Something's got to break. Can't wait for it. Got Alexander Volkov taking on Alexander King Kong Romanov at heavyweight. We'll see if Romanov can right his wrongs. And then you got the reschedule of Nikita KRYLOV and Ryan Spann at 205. Very important fight at 205. Maybe now more than ever. We'll see. And then you got low-key. I'm looking forward to seeing if Mario Bautista can add another win on there. And we'll have like three top contenders, new contenders at bantamweight with him, Chris Gutierrez, and Adrian Yanez. I mean, you got 5 bantamweight fights on this card. What else do we got to say? Let's get right into it. We got a lot of fights to get through. Should be fun, though. First fight, 170 pounds, men's welterweight. You got Carlston Harris making his return, about a year layoff, taking on Jared, the night train, Gooden. Gooden stepping up on about a week's notice. So we'll see. Carlston Harris took on Shavkat Rakhmonov his last fight. Tough one, tough debut. In the first round, he gets pressured toward the cage. He looks for some step-in jabs, throws some wild overhands. Then he gets rocked with a left hook off his overhand inside the pocket. And then they get to a clinch paddle, but he's able to get the whizzer, but he gets whizzer kicked. He gets whizzer kicked, but then he gets right back up, but then he gets dropped with a back kick, and then gets pounced on and TKO'd by Shavkat. But we saw what Shavkat did to Jeff Neal, so. And Jared Gooden took on Randy Brown his last fight a little while ago. I believe he got cut after this fight, and they brought him back for this one. First round, he lands a left cross, which stumbles him, but then he jumps on his back standing, can't hold him, though, just kind of all muscle. And then he walks into a front face kick, and he eats some jabs coming in, but he gets kept at bay, but he's able to land some leg kicks out here, so trying to pick his spots a little more. And then he goes for these lunge jabs. They're a little too short. They're using too much energy for my liking. Then in the second round, he walks into some crosses, gets pushed backwards. But then he lands a cross and a leg kick whenever Randy's coming towards him. And he starts taking some ground as well. But then he eats a head kick when he's circling the fence, and he chases him, and he misses with some wild overhands. And then he gets rocked with some right crosses, just kind of stumbling forward. And then in the third round, he eats a checked left hook at range. And then he eats some jabs coming in the pocket. And then he eats jabs off of his step-in leg kick. And then he eats a flurry up against the fence. So he's trying to get in, but just being a little too aggressive. Randy Brown was able to stay on the outside and dance around him, basically. Jared Gooden, plus 235. Carlston Harris, minus 275. I don't like this fight at all. But I'm going to go with Carlston Harris. If you want to bet on Jared Gooden, go ahead. But Jared Gooden's first rounder bust, in my opinion, and he's coming in on very short notice. I believe he got cut from the UFC, so do what you will with that. Carlston Harris, was a promising prospect. Before that, he ran into Shavkat, and you know how that goes. But he took some time off, young, and hopefully he can build on his game. Jared Gooden is kind of, his career is on the downslide. So I'm going to go with Carlston Harris here. First fight of the night. Typically the favorite wins, so we'll see. Second fight of the night, 125 pounds, men's flyweight. You got Tyson Nam taking on Bruno, the Bulldog Silva. It's Pitbull Silva, I believe, because there's two Bruno Silvas, and it was hard for me to find the flyweight Bruno Silva on Tapology and Sherdog. So did a lot of research. Tyson Nam took on Ode Osborne his last fight. He was making his return off a little bit of about a year-and-a-half long layoff, something like that. In the first round, he stands at range, and he blocks the hooks, sidesteps, circles around. Doesn't want to get hit by Ode, but then he lands a dip right hook to the body, and then he lands some step-in jabs and some crosses, and then whenever he's exchanging, he's open to a high knee whenever he's coming in. Ode throws those a couple times, but then he backs up. He lets Ode throw a jumping knee, and then lands a right hook right as Ode throws it and knocks him the fuck out completely. So pretty awesome, pretty good IQ. He's still got it. Doesn't have the best movement, but power's the last thing to go. And he's got power for sure, especially at flyweight. Bruno Silva took on Victor Rodriguez his last fight. In the first round, he's in and out with leg kicks. He lands a step-in overhand right, and then gets the tie clinch. And then he lands a knee and then a right cross on the break. Gets the KO. Pretty easy. Before that, he took on JP Buys. JP Buys, suspect chin, to say the least. But, he still got the job done. First round, he catches a kick in full guard, and then they scramble, and he passes into half guard. But he's not able to hold him there, though, but at least he's going for these positions early on. And then he lands a step-in uppercut and then a left hook from range. Second round, he gets on top whenever JP throws a leg kick and slips. Pretty weird. But then back on the feet, he eats some straights and he circles the fence. But he gets pressure back, but he drops him with the right cross off of the straight. And then a flurry and then another right cross at range, gets the KO. Pretty impressive stuff here, too. Past 2 fights, 2 KOs. Breno Silva minus 200, Tyson Nam plus 170. But going back and forth on this one, I just think Tyson Nam is knockout or bust in the first round, it seems like. And yeah, he's live to knock out Breno Silva. But I just think Breno Silva is the more complete fighter. I think if they can make it to the second and third round, I think Breno Silva is going to be able to wear on him, get him in the clinch, trying to take him down. I think he'll take him down a couple times. And, you know, Tyson Nam's always got that one shot. But I feel like Breno Silva's a dog, and he's going to get in there, and he's going to exchange in the pocket. So, don't love the price, but I'm going to go with Breno Silva here. What are you going to do? Minus 200, not the worst in the world. And then it's a flyweight fight, under 2.5 rounds, minus 125. You know the deal. Third fight of the night at 125 pounds, women's flyweight, Ariana, the Queen of Violence, Lipski, taking on JJ Aldrich. Ariana Lipski, tough one for her. Her last fight against Priscilla Cachoeira, she was skirting the fence, and she eats a right cross, and then she steps forward, throws a straight combination, just a little too short, and she's a little desperate to get these shots back because she got hit with the big shot, and then she eats a counter left hook off of her cross, and then she gets rocked and dropped with a flurry, and then just gets KO'd from there. So she just decided to firefight with Priscilla Cachoeira, who that's her only chance of winning. So that's what she decided to do. Threw her game plan out the window, and she got knocked out for it. Go figure. Before that, she took on Mandy Bohm. First round, she lands a 1-2 to the body, and then she comes up to the head. And then she gets body locked off her overhand, but then she's able to step over, reverse the position. Back on her feet, she lands a leg kick and a lead right hook. Then chases her with a flurry. Second round, she's able to counter with the right hook over top of her jab in the pocket. Starts jabbing at range, taking some territory. And then she lands a jab, stuffs the shot, and then she drops her with a nice cross off the takedown attempt. So, pretty good showing for her. Then JJ Aldrich, her last fight was against Aaron Blanchfield. Very good loss to have. In the first round, she jabs at range, but she eats a knee, but then she's able to clinch her to the fence. She's able to duck the head kick and get the single, but she's not able to complete the takedown. And then she got rushed with a lead hook, but then she's able to get the body lock, get the outside trip takedown. Can't do a whole lot with it, but still taking down Aaron Blanchfield is impressive in my opinion. Then she's able to land a jab, able to stuff the single leg attempt at the end of the round. Second round, she eats some body kicks at range, but then she lands some jabs, and she's looking for those 1-2 combinations, but then she gets pressed with some hooks in the pocket, but then she's able to get a quick trip takedown. Can't really do much with it, though. Back on her feet, she's able to jab at range, but then she gets knocked off balance when her knee gets... when she throws a knee, and then she gets caught in her front headlock into a guillotine. Aaron Blanchfield just cranks that thing up against the fence standing, and she has to submit. But before that, man, she was hanging with Aaron Blanchfield in the wrestling and the striking. She was taking down Aaron Blanchfield. I was very impressed. She got caught in a guillotine. It happens. Looked really good. JJ Aldrich, minus 350. Ariana Lipski, plus 290. My rule is low-level women's fights. You bet the underdog, but I just don't see a path to victory for Ariana Lipski whatsoever. And she just got knocked out her last fight, so... But I'm going to go JJ Aldrich. You know, her performance against Aaron Blanchfield said a whole lot to me. But if you want to go Aldrich by decision, minus 110, I like that one too. But I'm going to go with JJ on this one. Featured fight of the prelims, 135 pounds, men's bantamweight, first of many. Victor Henry taking on Tony Gravely. Should be a fun one. Both guys need to bounce back after losses. Tough losses in Victor Henry's case. He took on Rafael Assuncao's last fight. He was a big favorite. Blew that one, unfortunately. And the first round, he eats left hook when he's pressing forward. He lands some kicks out of... he's able to kick out of the single leg, but then he eats a 1-2 for his trouble. Assuncao very calculated and hitting him with some big shots. He lands a head kick, but then his kick gets caught, body kick gets caught, and he eats a cross for his trouble. Second round, he looks for some jabs, but then he gets countered coming in, and he misses the head kick. And then he gets taken down, attempts an arm bar, but then he just uses it to get up, though. And then his kick is caught, and he eats multiple crosses. Then he gets taken down for his trouble again. And then the third round, he eats a check hook off of his left hook, though. And then he looks for some 1-2 combinations and a flurry. But then he gets taken down with his single when he's coming inside. And then he gets a single to the cage, and he's not able to break free. And he was getting a little desperate there toward the end. And Assuncao just so slick and was able to land a couple big shots or just able to hold him against the cage strategically when he needed to, and Assuncao had a perfect game plan. Tony Gravely took on Javid Basharat his last fight. Tough one. In the first round, he presses with some sharp jabs, and then he lands a knee to the head, but he forces the clinch. And then he goes for the single, and then he kind of hangs around his back, but can't really do much of anything there, and uses a lot of energy when he's doing so. Then he lands a check left hook, but then he gets pressed with some front kicks and straights. He landed a 1-2 in the pocket, but then he gets doubled, but then he gets right back up, but still got doubled by Javid Basharat. But then in the second round, he gets a double off a leg kick, and then he shoots it able to go to the clinch because Javid is very good at escaping takedown attempts. Then he eats a jab, and then he shoots a desperation double, and then he gets pancaked for it. But he's able to work back up to the feet. He eats some body kicks at range, then he gets rocked with a front face kick. Then in the third round, he shoots a double way too far out. Can't, and he blitzes with some 1-2s, but they're just too short. He's desperate at this point. He knows he's behind. Then he walks into some crosses and jabs, and he just gets more and more tired after the first round. So tough one for him. He tried, but Javid just so precise and pretty good takedown defense. Tony Gravely plus 115, Victor Henry minus 135. I've been going back and forth, but more than I played out, Tony Gravely's got some power, but I don't think Henry's going to get hit cleanly. And Henry's deep wrestling defense is decent, and it just has to be able to hang in there till after the first round. I think after that, he can start making Gravely take some desperation shots too far out. Second and third round, I think Victor will be able to pick him apart at range, kind of how Javid did. So I'm going to go with Victor Henry. We'll see. Pretty bad loss for him, honestly, his last fight, but he has impressed me with he beat Ronnie Barcelos convincingly, so I'm going to go with Victor Henry. We'll see how it happens, though. It's bantamweight. Anything can happen, Co-main event of the prelims. It's not. 135 pounds, men's bantamweight. You got Mario Bautista taking on Guido Cannetti. I mean, this one is a banger all over it. I hope you like violence. Mario Bautista, another guy trying to make his name in the bantamweight division. This will be a solid victory for him over a tested veteran, so should be fun. Bautista took on Benito Lopez his last fight. Pretty good work for him. First round, he presses with double jabs and some leg kicks. He's able to slip the head kick, and then he lands a leg kick, and then he rips the body in a combo. Then he jabs, rips the body with combinations, then he lands some hooks, and then he gets the double leg takedown off the fence. He's in 3/4 mount, transitions to the full mount, and goes for the straight arm bar to a triangle / arm bar. Then he's able to land some elbows and gets a submission. He turns him over and gets on top of him and just lands some nasty elbows. So very good work from him, and he's got good ground game, slick striking game. I mean, he pretty much showed it all in that fight. So a very good showing from him. Guido Cannetti took on Randy Costa his last fight. In the first round, he's able to skirts the cage, and he backs out of range of the straights, and then he kind of knocks him over with some low kicks when he's coming in. And then he's able to jump on his back, go for the rear naked choke, no hooks, gets a submission. Guido Cannetti's an animal. Before that, he took on Chris Matinho, another first-round finish for him. First round, he lands a leg kick, a jab, then a hook, and then he lands some leg kicks, circles on the outside, makes Matinho chase him. Then he lands a step-in left cross, and then a knee to the body, and then a left cross flurry, and then gets a standing TKO. A little bit early stoppage for me, but Chris Matinho just eats punches, and that's what he does. But good game plan from him. He just blasted him and got the ref to stop it. So can't blame him. Guido Cannetti plus 650. Mario Bautista minus 950. Going to go with Mario Bautista here. I think Guido Cannetti, he's 43 years old, and he's a first-rounder bust type of guy because he has to be. He can hit very hard. Mario Bautista has got knocked out before, has taken some nasty knockouts. But he's grown a lot since then. He's on a nice win streak. He's demolishing opponents he's supposed to demolish. I think he looks really good. He's going to be aware that Cannetti's going to want to take his head off. So I'm going to go with Bautista. That price is insane. I understand you. I'm going to go with submission minus 110. I think after the second and the third rounds, I think he's going to be able to wear on him and get a submission like he did on Benito Lopez. I think Cannetti's going to be very spent after the first round, so we're going to go submission. The whole fight to go over 1.5 rounds, plus 155. I really like that one too. I'm going to stick with Mario on this one. Okay, the true co-main event of the prelims at 185 pounds, men's middleweight. You got Cedric the Reaper Dumas taking on Josh FREMD. Josh FREMD from my neck of the woods, Pittsburgh area, Connellsville, training out of Colorado. Had 2 fights in UFC, had a rough go of it, but he's really looking to get right on this one. And Cedric is making his UFC debut in this one after an impressive showing on the Contender Series. On the Contender Series, he took on Matej Perez. Quick fight for him. First round, he circles on the outside, and then he blitzes, gets the body lock to his slam, gets the mount, and then he's able to, and then a little bit of a scramble, gets a standing guillotine submission, just fucking rips that thing up against the fence, and yeah, man, just all power, no breaks. Really good showing from him. Before that, in Icon FC, he took on Aaron Highbaugh. It went all 3 rounds, but I'm only going to go over 2 rounds. His grappling really impressed me. In the first round, he lands a leg kick and he rocks him with the right cross, but then he gets a lat dropped coming in, but he's able to sweep him immediately. Keeps kind of like a high guard. And then he scrambles to defend. He defends the armbar, and then he gets to the back, and then he rolls to mount position. And then he gets the back with one hook in, then he transitions to mount. So he's able to go, he's able to stay on top of him, whether he's on his back or whether he has mount. So he has really good understanding where he's at on the ground, where his opponent's at. Then in the second round, he gets pressured, but he eats some long hooks against the fence, but then he just kind of swings back a little wild, and he tries to get the clinch, but then he gets the double leg takedown, lands some ground and pound in full guard, and then he gives him his back, lands some nasty ground and pound from the back, and then this goes on, and same thing in the third round, basically. And, you know, his ability to take the back really impressed me for a guy. I don't believe he grew up grappling or anything, so. And then Josh FREMD took on Tresean Gore, his last fight. In the first round, he gets taken down with the snatch single almost immediately, but then he's able to get up, uses that underhook, and he finds the wall, does what you're supposed to do. But then he gets clinched, and then he gets doubled off the fence, and he gives up his back, but then he's able to explode into him and reverse to position, and then he's able to get to his feet from there. And then they both kind of trade jabs, but then he's able to land a nice right cross and kind of hurt him a little bit, and you could see the momentum starting to shift. At least that's what it felt like in the moment. Then in the second round, he slips a jab, lands a right cross, lands a flurry on him, then he shoots the single, but he shoots the single with his head outside, and he did the same thing against Anthony Hernandez in his debut. And Tresean Gore is strong as hell, and he just snatches that thing up, and it was a nasty submission because I don't even understand how it happened, but I think Josh literally walked on the fence, and it ended up being a choke like this, and Josh FREMD went out completely cold. So tough one because it looked like he was starting to pick up the pace here. Josh FREMD seems to be a little bit of a slow starter, but, you know, nasty for him. And like I said, that's a mistake he's made the past 2 fights. It's just like, I don't know if it's a nervous thing or what, but, you know, he was looking solid before that, and Tresean Gore is a tough prospect. So let's look at that line. Josh FREMD plus 185, Cedriques minus 215. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be biased here, but it's also the line. Josh has a pretty good line, plus 185, and, you know, I really want him to win. And I think I have kind of a feeling Cedriques, he's making his UFC debut. Josh has had 2 fights in the UFC at this point. I think that's worth something. And I think if it makes it out of the first round, it could be interesting. A lot of people think Cedriques is going to blast him in the first round and either knock him out or submit him. So I think Josh will be ready for that. And I'm willing to see what happens. I'm willing to take the gamble that Josh can at least get out of the first round. After that, I think it gets interesting. And I think Josh might be able to put a pace on him in the second and the third round. So I'm going to go Josh FREMD here. Why not? Okay, this is the actual co-main event of the prelims. 135 pounds, men's bantamweight, Rafael Assunção taking on Davey Grant. Kind of a big matchup for both guys. Both guys might be trying to make one last run, but this is really kind of trying to get into the top 15. We'll see. Assunção definitely past his prime, unfortunately. Davey Grant looking to bounce back after a tough loss against Chito Vera and Adrian Yanez. See if he can find a place in the division. Should be fun, though. Should be pretty violent. And let's see if Assunção can put the proper game plan together. He took on Victor Henry his last fight. Already went over that one. But in the first round, he presses, lands a left hook, shoots a single, but then he lets go, lands a 1-2, but then he eats a head kick, but he catches another kick, lands a 1-2. Really good stuff there. Just picking his shots and trying to make them count as well. And then in the second round, he counters the jabs whenever he gets pressed with some short shots, short hooks, and then he gets the double off of a missed head kick, and he catches the body kick, and then he lands multiple crosses, able to get the takedown, just pressure him, get that takedown, land some damage, and some ground control. Then in the third round, he lands a check hook off of Henry's hook, and then he gets a single leg takedown whenever he gets pressed near the fence, and then he shoots a single to the fence, and it's kind of maintained position for the third round because he knows he's up on the scorecards and just puts together a great game plan. And he needs to because his chin's kind of gone, so, but, you know, really smart fight from him. Then Davy Grant took on Luis Smolka his last fight. Pretty good showing from him. In the first round, he circles in and out with some wide hooks, and then he backs out of range. But then he lands a right hook to the body and a left hook to the head. He lands a jab and then a right hook, which rocks him pretty bad. And then he's able to drop him with a jab in the pocket right at the end of the first round. Beautiful stuff. But then the second round, Luis Smolka kind of starts coming on a little bit, and Davy Grant gets a little wild and defensively irresponsible. And then he eats a right cross off of a windup when he's winding up. But then he eats a counter left hook, and he just kind of shells up and eats some body shots. I don't like when the guys do that. But then he lands a back kick. His back kick gets caught, and he eats some ground and pound for it. Then in the second round. But he's first couple rounds, he's establishing some leg kicks. So he's investing with those leg kicks. But then in the third round, he just starts whipping those leg kicks, which stumbles him. And then it forces Luis to take a shot from like a mile away. He stuffs the shot, and then just beats the shit out of him on the ground. Gets the KO, a knockout with ground and pound, not TKO. So this dude's powerful. This dude's violent. Stumbled in the second round. Had a very strong finish. David Grant, minus 135. Rafael Assuncao, plus 115. I've been going back and forth, but I just think David Grant's too violent. I think, Assuncao might be able to catch him a couple times, but, I think David Grant's getting hits pretty hard, and he's decently accurate when he wants to be. And I just think Grant is going to be able to land some big hooks or something on the inside. Assuncao is going to try to take him down. Davy Grant's takedown defense, not the best, not the worst. So we'll see. Assuncao is just really old at this point, over 40. So he's got knocked out a bunch. Davy Grant knocks people out. I'm going to go with Davy Grant. The main event of the prelims, finally, 265 pounds, men's heavyweight. Should be a fun slop fest for you guys. Carl Williams coming off the Contender Series, taking on Lucas BRZESKI. BRZESKI coming off of his first fight in the UFC. Williams took on Jimmy Lawson, former Penn State University All-American at heavyweight. First round, lands a blast double on him whenever he gets pressed, lands some ground and pound in full guard, and then he's able to keep the double leg on him, and then he takes him down off the fence, doesn't let him breathe. Yes, he's dominating an All-American in wrestling, so go figure. Heavyweight doesn't make sense. Then in the second round, he blitzes with some hooks to the double, lands some ground and pound, then he takes the back, but he gets a little too high and he gets reversed, but then he's able to slide him off of his back, keeps the scramble going. And then he's in a leg lock scramble, and then he just lands some hammer fists, ends up just sitting on top of Lawson and just hammer fisting the shit out of him. So really creative stuff there. Then in the third round, he lands a lead left hook and then a right cross whenever he gets pressed, and then he's able to pancake him off a bad shot, gets the leg lace on the ground, and then just ground and pound for the rest of the round. Just beautiful execution, man. Picked apart a very good wrestler, to say the least. And then Lucas BRZESKI took on Martin Buday his last fight. In the first round, he gets pushed back with some hooks and a clinch in the pocket, and then he kind of swings wild, trying to find a target. But then he's able to jab at range whenever he gets pressed, and then he rocks him with the overhand right when he's coming in. So having some success there. Then in the second round, he lands a right cross and he circles on the outside. He lands a jab and then an overhand combination. He throws out a couple times, but then he eats a blitz at range with his hands down. Don't know why his hands down. He seems to be getting a little tired halfway through the second round. Then in the third round, he eats some lead hooks, but he tries to return a cross and a jab and an overhand. He lands, and then he eats a hook off of his cross in the pocket. And I thought BRZESKI was landing the bigger volume, but Buday just had some bigger moments. He would just charge at him and land a big hook. Go figure. I don't know. They gave it to Buday. I thought BRZESKI won, but BRZESKI plus 195. Carl Williams minus 230. Yeah, my rule is to bet low-level heavyweights, bet the underdog, but this one's just different. Carl Williams, and he's coming off the Contender Series, but I just have a feeling about this one. And recently, the heavyweight favorites have been winning, so I'm going to do an experiment and see if this works. I'm going to go with Carl Williams. I think the wrestling will be too much for BRZESKI. BRZESKI doesn't hit that hard. Carl Williams kind of hits hard. And I think as the rounds go on, Lucas BRZESKI will get very tired, and I think Williams will be in good shape. There is a prop here, but I'm just going to stick with minus 230. A little bit of a price tag, but I'm going to go with Carl Williams on this one. First fight of the main card, 205 pounds. Vitor Petrino taking on Anton Turkalj, the Pleasure Man. He was up at heavyweight, took on Jailton Almeida, got steamrolled. That's going to happen. So now he's getting his fair shot in the UFC. Petrino coming off the Contender Series. He took on Rodolfo Bellato. In the first round, he jabs and lands a step and uppercut, and then a left uppercut to the body, and then a hook flurry, and he's able to pancake him off a bad takedown attempt. His counters miss with the hook, but then he lands a flurry to the body and the head, so he's a little wild, but he's able to find his target. And then he lands a head kick at range, but then he gets dropped with a step and cross. He gets put in a body triangle, but then he explodes into him, and he lands some hard ground and pound. This dude hits very hard. Then in the second round, he lands a head kick and a 1-2 and some hooks when he presses forward in the pocket. He's really trying to go for this knockout here. And then he ducks the back fist, and then he gets the knockout with the left hook off of that back fist. Beautiful counter. And this dude hits really hard. I don't know what would have happened if it went any farther into the fight, if he would have gassed out completely or not, but it doesn't matter because he knocked the guy out. And then Anton, he took on Caio dos Santos before Jailton Almeida. We're going to focus on this fight. This is the fair one to look at. In the first round, he gets a body lock immediately, gets her on the back, drags him down to the mat, and then he keeps on his back whenever they're standing up, and then he gets his back, and then he's able to put in a left hook. And just kind of rides him. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but maintains position. Definitely dominant. Then in the second round, they get into a firefight, and then he shoots a double off the fence, takes his back. No ground and pound, though, but still establishes dominant position. Then he eats a hook in the clinch, but then he breaks away, and he eats some straights at range. But then he blitzes, goes to the body lock, and then he gets a trip takedown, and then he goes back to the body triangle, bread and butter. Third round, he feints a blitz, but then he eats a jab, but then he's able to get a body lock, and doesn't do a whole lot, gets another takedown, but whatever, he got it done. Pretty good back control. Both guys were a little tired toward the end there. Anton minus 105, Vitor minus 115. Again, I feel like I've been saying this a lot. If Anton can survive the first round, he's going to be okay. I think he'll be able to take Vitor's back, and he'll be able to grind him out, maybe find a submission. I don't know. But Vitor hits like a truck, and Anton is going to have to be very careful that first round, to say the least. And, it's basically a coin flip at this point. I'm just going to favor the guy with superior grappling. If he can get on Vitor's back, it's over. And let's just have, Vitor, he's a little sloppy, and also Vitor, his chin isn't that great because he got dropped in his last fight. I'm going to go with Anton. I think he'll be able to find it back at some point. The whole fight to go over 1.5 rounds at minus 160, I really like that one. I'm going to go with the pleasure, man. Third fight on the main card, 135 pounds, men's bantamweight yet again. Saeed Nurmagomedov taking on Jonathan Martinez. Two rising prospects. I think the winner here could possibly get a ranking depending on how the performance goes, but both guys have been on a tear recently. Saeed took on Saeed Yokub Rachmanov his last fight, and this was a scramble fest. He was getting out wrestled, but he found a way to get it done. First round, he gets body locked on the fence, but then he has the guillotine standing, pulls it to his back, kind of tight. Doesn't get it though, but then back to his feet, he works out, he circles on the outside, lands some body and some leg kicks, and then he gets forced to take a far shot though toward the end. Didn't work out, but kind of getting grinded on a little bit, but, Saeed, pretty solid conditioning. Then in the second round, he eats overhand, and he gets doubled off the fence, and he gives up his back to base out. But then he eats some ground and pound, but he's eventually able to get up, and he stands up on the fence, and he stuffs a single leg, head on the outside, pulls the ninja choke submission out of nowhere, gets it done. Looks like this guy was getting out wrestled. He got slammed a couple times, but he found that neck, and he ripped it off. Great performance. Yeah, man. He's been on a tear recently. He just loves submitting people. Then Jonathan Martinez took on Cub Swanson. A little bit of an interesting one because Cub Swanson is making his drop from 145 to 135 late in his career. Don't know. Cub Swanson, a little bit past it, to be honest, besides all that. But anyway, he had a great performance. He did what you're supposed to do as a rising prospect. First round, he lands some body kicks, and then a clinch to the fence, and then he counters some straights with body kicks, but then he gets doubled, but he uses the gator roll to reverse, and then he kind of threatens the Dars up top, lets it go. Back on his feet, he lands some step-in leg kicks, and he counters with the 1-2, and he lands some body kicks, and he drops him with a knee to the head in the clinch at the end of the first round. Then in the second round, he lands some more inside leg kicks, and then an elbow flurry in the clinch, and then he gets around his back, drags him down. Doesn't do a whole lot on the ground, but they get back to his feet, and then he hobbles him with an inside leg kick, and then he just jumps on him and gets a TKO. So Cub Swanson could not walk after those leg kicks. So that's pretty impressive, and Cub Swanson's a little past it, but Jonathan Martinez took him out. So I've never seen Cub Swanson get taken out like that. All right. Jonathan Martinez is plus 215, and Saeed is minus 235. I've been debating this one a little bit too, but I just think Saeed, I just think his grappling is superior. Martinez, see, I don't think Saeed hits that hard. Martinez is a little bit chinny, if you ask me. And yeah, I mean, Martinez looked really good against Cub Swanson, but Saeed, he battled through adversity, and he found a way to get that goddamn choke. And I just think Saeed is going to be able to smother Martinez at some point. I think first round, it might be a little hard, but I think Saeed's going to be able to get in on him and smother him and clinch him, get him to the ground, maybe get his back or something, find a choke somehow, some way. If not a choke, be able to dominate him in the positions at least. He just needs a couple takedowns, and I think he can do it. I'm going to go Saeed Nurmagomedov. Line's a little high, but I'm just really high on this guy. And based on what he did to Cody Stamen alone, he's something special. I got to go Saeed here, but we'll see. God help me, you know? All right. The featured fight of the evening, 205 pounds, rescheduled from the main event a couple weeks ago. Nikita, the Gamer Krylov, taking on Ryan Superman Spann at a catch weight of 215. Nikita Krylov got sick the day of the fight. They had to cancel it while it was on TV. So, pretty interesting. I'm not going to go through it here. I already broke it down last weekend. I picked Ryan Spann. I'm going to stick with Ryan Spann. Since what's happened, Nikita had to pull out. He got sick. It went from 5 rounds to 3 rounds, which favors Ryan Spann. And he doesn't have to cut as much weight. I'm going to go with Ryan Spann, plus he's the underdog, plus 140. I think Ryan Spann's going to find either a knockout or a guillotine. Nikita Krylov had gotten tapped out by Paul Craig before, so I'm going to go with Ryan Superman Spann. Don't think too much about it. Just lay the money down and pray. Co-main event of the evening, 265 pounds men's heavyweight. This is a big one. You got some big boys going at it. Middle to high level big guys. Alexander Volkov taking on Alexander King Kong Romanov. Some Alexander on Alexander crime. Should be fun. Volkov is trying to establish himself as the top 5 gatekeeper. Obviously, he wants to fight for the championship, but right now he's serving as top 5 gatekeeper. If you get through him, you're going to be an elite fighter. Ask Tom Aspinall. Ask Curtis Blades. And Alexander Romanov, coming off a controversial split decision to lost to Marcin Tybura up at elevation. He actually got a bump up in competition from there. Marcin Tybura is like the top 10 gatekeeper, I would say. So, kind of interesting matchup that they made this, but, you know, I'm here for it. We'll see. We'll see who got better. Volkov took on, actually, he took on Jairzinho Rozenstruik his last fight, but Rozenstruik does not wrestle at all. But he was able to knock him out with some clean, straight shots against the fence. TKO stopped a little early. It didn't matter. I thought he was beating the shit out of Jairzinho, so. But before that, he took on Tom Aspinall in London. In the first round, he gets pressed in the pocket. He eats a 1-2-3 combination. Then he throws a step-in hook, and he gets body-locked from there into half guard. He eats some elbows, but he uses the underhook, and he's able to work his way up. So that's good out of him because he's struggled with grappling for a long time. But then he lands a step-in straight right, and then he gets doubled and then submitted with a straight armbar kind of right away. Tom Aspinall is too explosive, but, you know, it happens. Showed some good things, but not a good showing from him, you know. But he's coming back for a vengeance. And Alexander Romanov took on Marcin Tybura his last fight up at elevation in Utah. In the first round, he gets double unders, and he gets around the back, and then he gets a big old mat return, grabs a cross wrist, lands some ground and pound. Not terribly hard, not terribly damaging, but he lands a lot of punches. They say he should have been a 10-8 because Marcin didn't really do anything. That's up for debate. Then in the second round, he lands a cross to the body lock against the fence. Then he eats a blitz and a cross at range, but then he takes a desperate shot, some desperate shots, like half-ass doubles, and they get stuffed easily. And then he's off balance, off of a kick, and then he gets stuck. He gets knocked off balance. They both kind of throw kicks at the same time. Marcin jumps on top of him. Marcin Tybura is in north-south, just whipping the body of Alexander. But then he's able to slide him off his back toward the end there. Marcin gets on his back, and Alexander's able to slide him off, and he lands a couple big shots at the end there, but it wasn't enough to give him the round there. So round 3, it's all up for grabs, basically. In the third round, he gets pressed, and he eats some 1-2s, and then he just throws sloppy hooks the whole time, shoots those half-ass shots. Marcin doesn't do a ton either, just jabs him up a couple times, but Alexander Romanov was just dead tired after the second after the first round, and I know it was at elevation, but I mean, he just fell off a goddamn cliff. So we'll see. And then whenever Volkov and Tybura fought, it was a little while ago, but Volkov stopped every takedown, and he was able to piece him up in the striking. So pretty interesting matchup here, honestly. Romanov minus 145, Volkov plus 125. I think I'm gonna go with Volkov here, man. I think he might get wrestle fucked for the first round, but I think after that Volkov can survive. I think he's going to be able to keep Romanov at range. He's going to be able to jab him up, land some straight shots, and then Romanov rushes in. He's going to be able to land a big uppercut or a big knee or a kick to the head like he did on Curtis Blades. I think if Volkov can get out of this first round, this has been the story of this card, get out of the first round, I think he's got a real good shot. And I think Romanov's still going to get tired because he got tired against Juan Espino. That wasn't at elevation. I think Romanov's just tired, period, after the first round. I think Volkov can survive. I'm going to go with Volkov here, man. Slight underdog on a high-ish level heavyweight fight. Got to take it. The main event of the evening, 135 pounds, men's bantamweight. Piotr No Mercy Yan taking on Merab, the Machine, DVALISHVILI. I hope I said that correctly. And yeah, man, I don't really know what the stakes are. I know it's a big matchup. I know you got two little tanks from similar parts of the world going at it, and I can't wait for it. Peter just lost to Sean O'Malley, and as long as Aljamain's the champ, he's not going to fight for a title for a little bit. And Merab's not going to fight Aljamain for the title because he's his friend. He said he's not going to fight him. So, I don't know. But Aljamain and Henry are fighting in May. We'll see what happens with that. And it's moving night for a bantamweight. So, lots of changes in the division. This is a win each guy really needs, though, to be in that conversation for the title picture. It should be fun, man. I'm hoping it's violent. I think it's going to be violent. Let's get into it. Peter took on Sean O'Malley his last fight at Fight Island. In the first round, he stalks with some leg kicks, but then he eats a 1-2, and he feints a hook, and he's able to get around the back. Can't do much, though. But then he eats some jab counters. Eats a jab, but then he counters it with a hook. Pretty big one. Kind of knocked O'Malley back a little bit. Then he lands some front kicks, and then in some hooks, and then he gets a double leg takedown off the fence, and then O'Malley kind of gets a takedown on him at the end, but Then in the second round, he gets rocked with the left cross at range, but then he rocks him with the left hook in return, gets a mat return into full guard, lands some ground and pound, kind of trying to beat him up. You can tell he's a little angry at this point, but then he lands some body kicks up against the fence. Then in the third round, he eats jabs at range, but then he shells up, but then he lands some hooks, and he gets a single on the fence, but he's not able to finish at this point. O'Malley really spot on with his defense in this round. Then he eats a knee to the face and a left hook, and then he retreats, but he counters with some straights. So he counters O'Malley's straight shots with some left hooks, which kind of rocks him there toward the end there and pushes him back. And the thing in the second round, dude, like seeing Peter take that big cross from O'Malley and then just returning with a hook and just hurting him just as bad. Peter Yan's a bad man, man. So, and then Merab took on Jose Aldo, his last fight up at elevation in Utah. First round, he's in and out of range, lands some leg kicks, and he looks for the overhand, shoots a single to the fence, can't finish. He does this multiple times throughout each round. It's the same thing. He can't finish. You can't take down Jose Aldo. Doesn't land a whole lot. He throws a 1-2, and then goes to the single, lands a couple hooks in there, but doesn't really hurt Jose. Kind of just like glances off of him. But then he eats a hook to the body and the knee at range. And then in the second round, he shoots a blast double to the fence, / shoots singles to the fence, and Jose is not really throwing anything back, but Merab's not really landing too much either. Might be the occasional short hook or something like that. It's not hurting anybody. Then in the third round, shoots a single to the fence. He lands some overhands, goes to the clinch, but then he eats a knee in return. But then he lands a lunge, 1-2 combination, and then a hook. And then finally, with less than a minute to go, he gets a hip toss, gets around the back of Jose on the fence, lands some knees to the thigh or whatever. Lackluster fight, but win's a win technically. So Merab plus 215, Piotr minus 255. Really tough one. Don't like the line at all. I want to take a shot on Merab, but we haven't seen Merab go 5 rounds. We know Piotr can go 5 rounds. Piotr can take people down too. Piotr can defend takedowns. Piotr hits harder than Merab. Piotr's striking is more accurate than Merab's. I'm going to go with Piotr. I think Merab might put a little pace on him for a round or two because Piotr, especially in 5-round fights, likes to analyze for the first round. So, but I think after the first round, I think Piotr's going to pick up the pace and start cracking Merab. And Merab might have a chain of granite. You might not be able to knock that guy out because Marlon Moraes couldn't do it. And he came back from the dead. But he might be able to beat his ass for 5 rounds. So, I'm going to go with Piotr. A little pricey, but whatever. Can't wait. Should be an awesome fight. All right, everyone. Thanks for rolling with me. I appreciate it. Finally had a winning week last weekend. Did all my research. I feel good about this weekend. We'll see. Like, share, subscribe. Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all that stuff. Leave me a comment. Join my channel. It would really help. Ask me questions. Always be here. Give me advice. I'm always open to listen. Let's see some upsets. Let's see some violence. And let's see some profits. Good luck, everyone. Let's get that money.